And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Howdy folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at an expansion for Merlin. Merlin is a rondell style game, and so we have an expansion here, Arthur. Now, I was trying to think, how were they going to expand Merlin? It seemed like a pretty full game. It wasn't a game that I necessarily wanted an expansion for. I liked Merlin. I liked the idea of moving pieces around a rondell and manipulating the dice to get the pieces to where you wanted them to be to accomplish goal cards. I really liked the idea of Merlin. Well, what Merlin does in this Arthur expansion is it adds another piece called Arthur, which you will move around and, well, do more stuff. It also replaces a few things. Let me show you. So, first of all, we have some new pieces that go on the board. So we place this, and it goes on the board. I wish there was kind of a way that it would stick there a little bit better. Not a big deal. This is going to replace the outer track and change it slightly. It's mostly the same. And then add an inner track. And on the inner track, you're going to be placing this piece, Arthur piece, will be placed on the inner track. And you will have Merlin still going around the outer track. Each player is going to get a black die, which is going to be moving Arthur. Now, you're also going to get a new scoring thing here because there's slightly new scoring, which will be placed here on top of this with a new three-dimensional score piece that who cares about. And then you get this, was not necessary, but you can put your face-up cards on here. And then you have a new pick section over here where you'll keep track of these folks that you'll be defeating and adding to your board. Each player is also going to be expanding their board slightly. So you'll be just adding this somewhere near your board. And this is just a spot as you use up your dice, you can place them in this spot to show that they've been used rather than in the center of the board, since there's no longer any room for the center of the board. So just as I take my dice from here, I put them over here. This is also a place to keep the new picks as you collect them. You'll place them here like that and just next to each other as you get more and more of these. So there's also some major changes in that two of the old flags are out and the two new ones are in. So the black and the gray flag are out. The gray because there's a new special ability that handles that. The black because no one ever really cared that much about it. The gray lets you turn one color die into another color die. So I can use a regular die as a Merlin die, as an Arthur die. And then this one here lets you add or subtract one from a die, and you can go down to 0 and you can go up to 7 with your dice as you're doing that. Let's take a closer look at the track. So as you're moving around your pieces and Merlin around the board here, there's new spots. You'll notice that Arthur can move Merlin and Merlin can move Arthur. A few spots like that. There's also the picks. There's 3 spots here. When you get a pick, you'll be able to take one of the face-up picks. You'll immediately get the benefit below there, which is usually some sort of goodie here. And then you'll put it next to your board, and whenever scoring happens, whoever has the highest total number here, and I should mention that there's a new signet ring, which will add 3 to that number also. Whoever has the highest total number gets 3 points, and whoever has the lowest total number will lose 3 points. And then there's just various different spots here. You'll move your guy to the next open castle. There's spots to get apples. And then there is the signet ring here. The signet ring will allow you to finish one of your mission cards for free, which lets you do 2 if you can finish one the normal way. And it adds 3 to when you're fighting the picks. You also notice that Excalibur and the Holy Grail have been moved to the middle section. And then there's a few other various different spots of things, getting apples and getting victory points for each of your manors and the environs and so on. But that's pretty much all the changes to the game. There you have it. A quick note, I don't really like this scoreboard here. I'd rather not use it at all. I know it tells you to score the picks, but big deal. It's just having another piece on the board seems kind of a pain. And this 3-dimensional piece for keeping track of the rounds, I don't care about that either. This, I would prefer if there was a way like to stick it on the board. I can't think of a way to do that, where it doesn't fall apart. it's not too big of a deal. It just seems kind of weird having that on top. Other than that, all the components are cool. This is a completely unnecessary thing, but it does make you satisfied to put your dice in the slots as you fill them up. I would also probably make the kings look a little different, but they all look the same. Oh well, oh sad kings. But for the most part, nice components. Now, one thing that is funny about this game to me is that this says 75 minutes here on Merlin, and if I look here on the expansion box, it also says 75 minutes. That is patently impossibly false. I mean, it's impossibly true, or it's false. Anyway, the point is that you are adding an extra piece that everyone is going to move each turn of the game. That by very nature makes the game slightly longer. Now, it's not that much longer, but it just does make it longer, so keep that in mind. I don't mind. I like having the extra piece to move. That's fun for me. I really like this expansion. The new flags are great. And for people who complained about luck in the game, which is, there's luck in the game, mitigating it with those +1 flags or being able to use one die as another die, you will find yourself using those flags a lot. There already was. I'd say more than half the flags now are about mitigating the dice, which is really good. The picks I can take or leave. I mean, it's nice to have another option and get them in there with extra bonuses, and sometimes they let you get that bonus that you're having a hard time getting some other way. Having the most to least, +3 or -3, Arthur being its own separate piece, that I enjoy. I like having the Holy Grail, the Excalibur, and the Signet Ring all in the middle there. You're trying to get these and get the points for various ways. I think that works well. And using the Merlin piece sometimes to land on it to move Arthur an extra time, or just using the thing that switches him over. It has a nice feel to it, and Arthur, just like Merlin, can be moved in both directions. I like this expansion. It really doesn't add much. I've also taught it to people who never played Merlin before. I just threw this in, and it didn't really faze them because there wasn't really a lot of extra things for them to have to learn. So I will say, I think if you like Merlin, you will enjoy this, just like I did. If you're not a fan of Merlin, I think that the being able to control the destiny a little bit more might sway you a bit more towards liking it, but I don't think this expansion is going to knock you off a pinnacle if you hated the game, for example. If you were ho-hum on it, this might improve that, though. It definitely feels like the new flags were almost like a patch of sorts. But, I don't know. I'm happy with it. It's something that I will include in every game of Merlin that I play. I think it offers more choices, and how can I complain about that? Dice Tower Judgment approved!